Well guys, I really thought we were done talking about trades for one trade deadline, but apparently we're not quite yet. If you have not heard by now, the Mark Williams trade has failed. It's now been rescinded, with Mark Williams heading back to Charlotte, and both Cam Reddish and Dalton Knecht coming back to LA. And no, I'm not joking about this, I'm not pulling your leg here. The trade apparently has been called off and, well, there's no going back on it now. The trade deadline's obviously passed, they can't make another trade to address that need, or simply try to rework the deal, maybe give up less for Mark Williams but still take him back in return. They can't do that. No longer is a trade eligible to be made, and that means that Mark Williams will not be a Laker, and both Cam Reddish and Dalton Knecht will once again be a Laker, or were never not a Laker to begin with that being especially true for Dalton Knecht, obviously never playing for a different team up until this point. But with all of that in mind here, what does this mean for their team going forward? How do they address the new issue, or rather the reoccurring issue at center? Obviously having a need for one again after the Mark Williams trade failed, only having Jackson Hayes at the spot, Christian Wood but he's currently hurt, then two-way contracts behind them, and then in addition to that, the potential tension between the front office and Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish. What will that mean for their team going forward? How do they address all of it, and how do they move forward with it? We'll talk about that and break it all down. And well, to begin, I think we gotta talk about the tension, or rather the potential tension, between the front office and Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish. After all, whenever a trade happens, especially a trade that kind of comes out of nowhere like this one, there can tend to be hard feelings. And with a few days having passed since the trade, they probably emotionally moved on at this point and want to start their new journey with their new team. Mark Williams with the purple and gold, Dalton Knecht and maybe Cam Reddish if they didn't waive him with the Charlotte Hornets, and we're kind of fully expected to become that for them, that being their future and the next team they would play for. But now they gotta turn right back around and join their former team. Even apart from the hard feelings here, you gotta think they feel a little bit unappreciated, a little bit devalued, and not really cared about by their former team, or rather their current team again, that being the Hornets for Mark Williams, the Lakers for Dalton Knecht, and they'll probably be looking over their shoulder for the foreseeable future here too. They've now kind of been traded, they got a taste of that, Dalton Knecht being a rookie, Mark Williams being a third-year player, actually a second-year player, scratch that, and now they've kind of felt what the business feels like, getting traded, but the trade not actually happening, them having to go back to their team, and in a really weird situation going forward. How will they adapt to that? How will they be affected by it? And will it be awkward going forward? Well, I think it would be impossible not to be a little bit awkward. Dalton Knecht will be coming back to their team, joining their team after a few days away from their team and having to come back to their rotation, joining their team, or rather rejoining their team after a few days away from their team. And on top of that, he might have been watching their team and what it looked like without him. You know, maybe trying to emotionally separate from that, so I have no idea, but if he did, it's gotta be a really weird feeling knowing that he was away from their team, not really a part of their team for a little bit, and now he's gonna come right back to the rotation and try to make it seem like it worked and nothing happened between them, which again, definitely will be a little bit awkward. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely a little bit worried about that too. You know, he wasn't playing the biggest role for their team, about 15 to 20 minutes per game every night, but even that's a little bit to ask from a guy, and a guy that will be coming back to their team after kind of being devalued by their team, getting a taste of the business side of the NBA, being temporarily traded away from their team, and now will have to act like nothing happened and come right back to the rotation, which will expect him to play like he was prior to being traded and fill that role for their team again. And no matter what way you look at that, no matter how you feel about that, that definitely will be difficult, and especially for a rookie. Again, he's already hit that rookie wall at times, struggling from the three-point line, not playing that well, being a bit confused in the court, and again, simply hitting that rookie wall. And now at being traded to that, and coming back to the team that previously traded you or tried to trade you, how might that affect his psyche and what he does in the court, and his overall comfortability with their team? I think that's something to think about. Will he be a part of the rotation, or maybe a lesser part of the rotation going forward? Will they try to work him back slowly and get a feel for how he's feeling about their team? Definitely a lot of questions to be asked here that simply can't be answered quite yet. It'll kind of be a touch and feel situation with him going forward, kind of take it day by day with him. Hopefully nothing is that awkward and hopefully it goes right back to the way it was, but that's kind of wishful thinking in my opinion. But apart from that, there are much bigger implications here too. Not only about Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish, but what they didn't get with Mark Williams and how they'll now have to fill that need on their team. Obviously they had big plans for him, they made a big trade for him, gave up quite a bit for him, and probably had a pretty big role for him in mind, likely being in their starting lineup and pretty much being a guarantee to be in their starting lineup. After all, we've heard about Rob Pelinka mentioning wanting a lob target for their team, a starting level center that could grow with their team, and that did appear to be Mark Williams. Then on top of that, we've seen what Luka Doncic likes to play with, that Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford type of big, that lob threat, good rim protector, a mobile big, and a really good pick and roll partner. And although they kind of have that with Jackson Hayes, not really to the level of a Mark Williams or definitely not a Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively. So it definitely will be difficult for them, and a new problem, or rather an old problem that's come back to them, that will need to be addressed in the future, and in the short-term future at that. Like I mentioned before, Jackson Hayes currently is their only healthy, active center on their 15-man roster. Yes, they do have Christian Koloko and Trey Jemison, but they're more of like an extension of their 15-man roster, currently being two-way contracts and therefore limited to playing in 50 total games, and on top of that, not being eligible for the postseason. So at this current moment, they have one healthy, active, available center on their 15-man roster that could play in the playoffs for them. And then to make that even worse, now they're back to having a completely full 15-man roster. With that Mark Williams trade, they're doing a 2-for-1 trade, the two players going out again being Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish, and the one player coming in being Mark Williams. So again, they're back to having a completely full 15-man roster. And if they want to change that, they have to waive somebody, then sign somebody new. So if they want to go that route, which they definitely should and hopefully will, then they have to waive somebody and pick that player out. Whether that's Cam Reddish after trading him and kind of devaluing him, he wasn't a part of the rotation prior to being traded and that probably is candidate number 1 for their team. Or a guy like Christian Wood, yes he is a center and could help them, but right now really can't help them. Currently is hurt and has been hurt all season, with a knee problem, had a previous knee surgery and has not been able to recover from it. Any update we got about him has been no update, literally what JJ Redick has said about him, there's no update on him, so definitely a candidate to be waived there as well. Or maybe a guy like Maxi Kleber, currently has a broken foot and might miss the entirety of the season, could potentially come back and might be able to help their team if he did come back, but there's no guarantee with him either. Then maybe a guy like Markieff Morris. Yes, he did play tonight, made a 3-point shot for their team tonight, but at this point, it's definitely more of a veteran leader, rather than a productive member of their team and a guy that you can really count on to play valuable minutes for your team. So between the 4 of them, they're definitely candidates to be waived from their team, and then the Lakers have to look to the open market, which at this point is very dry for frontcourt players, not even talking about centers, but simply frontcourt players in general. Maybe they might get lucky on the buyout market. Maybe a guy like Larry Nance Jr. might hit the buyout market, maybe a Chris Boucher, maybe a Kelly Olynyk. Currently a guy like Daniel Theis is on the open market, but definitely not much to look for right now. Only Daniel Theis and not really much after that. And don't worry, we'll talk more about that. I'll give more options on the buyout market, more centers they might be able to target or might be able to pick up right now, and talk more about that in the future. But the point here is that they currently do have a problem. They have a center problem, they have a problem between Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish coming back to their team, simply an awkwardness problem, and what they do going forward with it. And with that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Mark Williams trade being voided, with Mark Williams no longer being a Laker, and Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish now coming back to the Lakers? Do you like it? Do you hate it? And what do you think they should do going forward about it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.